filmfestivalcircuit.com, and the director of the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival Summer 2022. And the Summer 2022 event just took place yesterday at the Clinton Street Theater in Portland. And we just had a great time at the event. And I just want to say this film was a treat for everybody. Last Orders by director Jon James Smith finished as a finalist for the Best International Film Award. How you doing today, John?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Good stuff. Well, the festival is cool. A lot of horror fans, dedicated horror fans, really enjoyed the film, got some great feedback. For those that could not make it, could you give us a little synopsis of what this film is about?
So it's basically a pub landlord with a dark past gets a mysterious visit one night. And that's kind of all I can say without giving too much away. It's a really awkward film to write a synopsis for or to do a trailer for.
Sure. Well, sometimes, it's, you just want to give people, I tell people about this. It's funny you bring that up with trailers. I get a lot of filmmakers that I'll be like, hey, do you have a trailer? And they're like, no, I didn't want to give the whole story away. Sometimes a couple of stills and a couple of just, clips of someone looking left, someone looking right, someone freaked out, usually does the trick for a trailer. I think most people, especially those that have no idea what's going on, they're just walking in to see a horror film program, just kind of want to see a preview of what we're going to see, just to kind of get a picture of quality. I tell this story at my horror film festival. I had a lady one time in the very first Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival we did. It was either in 2017 or 2018. And I'd sold these tickets. I had this full room, and we sold the tickets on Groupon, and it was super cheap. It was like $8 or something. So I had all these people come out of the woodwork, and this lady up front, she's like, hey, you the director? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, are these movies scary? And I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good. She's like, they're not scary. I want my money back, right? And so shorten the story, it ended up she got freaked out and left the theater. Like, she was the first one to leave. But the moral of the story is people just want to check out the quality. And quality is definitely what you brought to the table with your film, the production value, the cinematography, the way you unfolded the story. Really good stuff, man. And a lot of respect from the Oregon judges on your work, and definitely resonated with the crowd. What motivated you to create this specific film?
Well, thank you for your kind words, and it's great to hear that it screened well with the crowd. So yeah, basically it just came from the pandemic. We've just been stuck inside for so long and just desperate to make something. And I'd kind of had this amazing location sat right under my nose the whole time, because the film, for people who don't know, is set in a pub in London. And my girlfriend actually ran the pub at the time. But because I was so familiar with it, it just never occurred to me to make a film there until someone was just like, why don't you just set a film there? It's a great location. And also it was just a really unique opportunity because in the pandemic, it's the only time where the pub is completely shut for several weeks. Even at Christmas, it doesn't really shut. And so it was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to just make a film there. And we just had completely free roam. So I was able to set dress and pre-light and shoot tests and just do loads of stuff for weeks and weeks before we actually made the film. And yeah, it just, I guess, came from frustration and just desperately wanting to make something. And that's how we got our amazing actors, Alistair Parker and Stephen Elder. They were sort of like everyone, they've been sat around and just desperately wanted to kind of do something and be creative. So we just kind of found the small team and just kind of made it. But there was no more intentions than that, other than to just have fun and do something creative and just do something different.
I encourage filmmakers to do exactly what you did. Sometimes, you can say, oh, I could shoot this particular idea if I had this much money. But sometimes you just have to look at what you do have and build a story around it. And I actually didn't know that about your story. I didn't know that that's how it sounds like it was almost therapy out of the pandemic, like a redirection of creative energies out of the pandemic. And those were very, very uncertain times, especially those first few months. Did you kind of, is a chicken and egg thing? Like, was the script first, or were you kind of just like in the pub, like brainstorming, like this is what we can do? Like, how did the whole, without giving away the story, but did the location write the story, or did you write the location into the story? Like, how did it work?
So usually I don't write for specific locations. I'll start just with the story.
Sure.
But with this, because we didn't really have a budget, like it's a very small budget that we made Last Orders on. So it was really just what have we got? What have we got access to? Especially because of the pandemic, everything was so limited. So I'd actually written another script that I was going to make, and like a friend kind of read it and was just like, I think you can do better. And then another friend was like, just set something in the pub. So it kind of came from that. But I think one of the things I learned from this is how much I enjoy restrictions, because having that restriction changed everything.
Mm.
Whereas it's such a big task when you don't really have any kind of brief, like you just don't know where to begin. So sort of having the confines of the pub, and it is a contained film, it all takes place in the pub, like it really helped creativity. And yeah, I think it's sort of we were kind of bound by the circumstances, I guess. So it was very much tailored for what we could do at the time.
Did you learn anything from this production of this film? Anything that you'll take on to the next one to say we'll do this better, or maybe we didn't know we were capable of something? Like, what did you learn from this whole production?
I think I learned how much I like working with people, because the thing about Last Orders, it was such a small crew, and it was quite a small budget. We made it for about £2,500, so about $3,500.
Yeah.
And I could only afford to hire a couple of crew members for 2 of the 4 days that we were shooting. So for 2 of the days, it was just me and the actor, and we were just shooting without sound, so we had to sort of Foley everything else. But we sort of, I took on so much with this film. Like I shot it, I edited it, I had to learn visual effects to complete a few shots. I did a bit of the sound design, and any kind of bit of dictator that was left in me at that point is now just completely gone. Like I'm so desperate to just work with bigger and bigger teams. So the last film I've done, I only wrote and directed it, and we had quite a big crew. So I think it's just made me appreciate other people a lot more, just because I didn't really have too many people for Last Orders.
That's a lot of hats to wear, especially a lot in post that you worked on with this film. It's a lot of skills to have, some which I'm sure were sharpened during this process. But how did you start? What was your first step into the business?
So I went to quite a good film school just over a decade ago in the UK. So I've kind of been working in the industry for over 10 years now. I started in the camera department, and sort of just from necessity, I've learned to edit and do a few other things. And then alongside everything else I'm kind of doing, I'm always kind of making, writing and directing short films on the side. And then one of the things that came out of the pandemic is that I started working in practical special effects, just because, like a lot of people, I just sort of wanted to change. And so I kind of like to get quite busy in the industry, and especially as a director, just to sort of stick my nose in other departments and just learn new skills wherever I can. So kind of an all-rounder, really. But yeah, sort of roots in cinematography.
Okay. You mentioned some other productions, just in your earlier statements. What do you have going on in the future?
So I actually just got back from LA. We made a much bigger budget proof of concept short. It's called Babushka. And yeah, it was great. It was such a contrast to Last Orders, because we just sort of had this huge crew and much bigger budget. And it's sort of, basically we're trying to start the next Horrorverse. I'm a huge fan of the sort of Blumhouse, Insidious, Conjuring sort of Horrorverses. And yeah, we've just decided we're going to try and start the next one. So we've sort of, it was a weird one, because I sort of went out with quite a small budget, and then lots of people were just sort of coming to us, and everything was sort of, the stars were aligning, and it just kind of grew and grew, and we just sort of said yes to everything, and suddenly it just became this huge production. So we're basically in post-production on that now, and we're going to be pitching it to studios sort of, yeah, as soon as it's done, really.
I'm sorry, did you say it was a short or a feature length? Sorry. You
Yeah,
said
it's about
proof of
half an hour
concept?
long at the
Okay.
moment. So yeah, just a proof of concept. And yeah, we're hoping to get someone interested in doing the feature.
All right. Well, I hope you get some traction on it. And if you do go into production, you got to let us know. You got to hit me back, and we'll talk about
Yeah, definitely.
just your whole process. And do another interview, a little follow up. We love to see what happens to the alums of Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival who go on to do big things, which I'm sure you will. So,
thank you.
All right, my friend. Well, it's been great to talk to you. Is there anything you wanted to add before we leave?
No, just thanks to you and thanks to Oregon Screams, and yeah, thanks to everybody that went to the festival. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but it sounds like it was a great event. And yeah, cheers.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Take it easy.
Cheers.